What's the name of our show?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Large Glass. I'm Todd.
I'm Terri.
And we are without power right now. We're running on a generator. We were actually going to drive out of our area where we could get cell signal, get on our phones, and live stream to you from the phone. But then we realized, well, let's drag the generator out and see if we can't get this thing going.
Yes.
Hi, Jess. Hi, Ben. Nice to see both of you. Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for the sub.
Yes.
We appreciate that. That's awesome. And yeah, we've had this is the second power outage today. So in the middle of my preparation today, a tree fell up the street, an ash, and it crashed through the wires, cut the power out to the house. So I lost about 3.5, 4 hours of prep time, which put me into a panic. We can talk about that later.
Yes. It's been like that.
Sorry.
Tonight.
And then we get it all ready to go, and Terri said, I think I'll put a notification out on Instagram saying we might lose power.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes later, we lost power.
We lost power.
So
big storm, hail.
Yeah.
Thunder, lightning. He's
Yeah.
trying to drag out the generator in a lightning storm. I didn't think that was such a good idea.
Probably not.
But
we know that DM Shmee and Pumpkin Audrey and the show must go on is correct, John.
Must go on.
That's correct. So
Yes.
we're here to you in storm, rain, whatever the case may be. We will try to make it work as best we can.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but some of our viewers won't be here tonight because they lost power too.
I know. Whoa, there's
Yeah.
Ripple Flux.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, Russ's son. Hey, that's wait a minute, hold on. I forget your name. Shoot. Sorry, my bad. Dalton. Hi Dalton, nice to see you, buddy. It's great that you're here. Okay, so we need to drink.
We do.
Number one.
Yeah.
So another thing that kind of got a little derailed, but we're gonna try and make it work tonight. You're drinking beer.
Yes.
Because we were gonna go get something that was either English.
Yes.
Or something that was Mexican.
Yeah.
We did manage to get beer. It's Belgian. It's not English, but
that's fine.
I do know that Alexander McQueen's heritage, he has Scottish roots.
He does.
And so I have Scottish Scotch. And this is a Balvenie 15, which, by the way, not that this makes any difference in terms of the age of the Scotch or the quality of the Scotch, but this was bottled in 2010. So that's an additional 11 years. So that makes this a 26-year-old bottle. And once you get it in the bottle, it stops aging. So that doesn't necessarily make this like an exceptionally, it's already, an exceptional Scotch, but doesn't make it necessarily more exceptional. So I'm gonna pour you a little Stella.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, this is called the Large Glass. And while you're having a large glass of beer, I am not going to have a large glass.
I'm going to have a little jelly glass
of Balvenie,
That's
although
right.
I'll have a healthy portion.
Yeah.
So here's to episode 45.
45.
45 episodes.
Yes, this is fantastic.
And we're curious, what do you think? And we want to know this in the chat. So put this in the chat, but what should we do for episode 50? Because we have an idea. We definitely have something on the calendar, but you guys have been with us from the beginning. So thoughts on a 50th party? Maybe some kind of party? I don't know.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Kind of fun. Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Look at you doing your little spill.
Well, you got to suck the air in through it. It makes it really good. 1 cube of ice to open it up. Oh my God, that's good. Oh, I love this stuff.
That's good.
Okay.
All right.
By the way, I've had this forever. So given the emergency and the power outage, I figured I would open it up. So a drink fest, Carolyn Thau says.
Drink fest.
I like that idea. Are you going to try that?
No, I just wanted to smell it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have a lot to do tonight.
We do have a lot
Right, so
to
first
do.
of all, we have to get a featured supporter thrown up there.
Yes.
We have an insane number of birthdays, thanks to I Hate Username 67 for building
Yes.
out our birthday
Filled
list.
out our list.
He's really good.
Yeah, he did. He did a
really
great
good.
job. Yeah.
I have a feeling a lot of our normal viewers are not going to be here tonight because of this power thing.
Yeah. That's
I drank that this past winter. Yeah, that was a different one, not the same one. Anyway, I think we should get down to some business here. All right, so let's see. Let's do a featured supporter first. Tonight's featured supporter, hopefully they're watching, and if they're not, I'm going to send this to them. But tonight, we want to say thank you to Mr. David Backus.
Yes.
David Backus of the Brownstone Art.
Very supportive.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. And we
Fantastic
just wanted to say
collaborator
thank you to
sometimes.
David.
Yes,
Hopefully
thank
you
you.
can see this. If you can't, thank you anyway. We really appreciate collaborating with you and hosting some of your gallery openings. We've had a really great time doing that, and we've learned a lot through getting to know you and the artists that you show. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so that is tonight's featured supporter. And we do have some news, not the greatest of news. This is actually really, I'm really glad you sent this to me today.
Oh, yeah, I should pull that up and see what it...
I had no intention of doing news tonight because our birthday list is so long. However, Terri today sent me a quick article about a man named Peter Pops. And Peter Pops is not a very well-known person. However, he did pass away. And Peter Pops is a self-taught shoe designer who makes some of the most outrageous shoes you have ever seen. And given the fact that we're talking about McQueen tonight and a little Frida Kahlo and a few other artists actually that kind of get tied in here along the way, this is fitting, and I think he deserves to be recognized here. And so, you know, we've got this amazing shoe designer who really, I had never heard of him before.
No.
I'm certain that a lot of my fashion students have probably heard of him, but some of his shoes, I mean, of course, you could think of people like Lady Gaga, Yusora, who is on the screen right now. She's an entertainer. And the shoes just leap into the realm of the outrageous, the realm of bondage, the realm of almost
Gravity defying.
gravity defying's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So brilliant designer, Mr. Peter Pops. He will be missed, and so thought we'd bring him up.
Yeah.
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 All
Very
right.
sad, but very fitting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. So moving on, we've got an absolute insane list of birthdays to do. So I'm going to let you run them.
So guess what? Guess whose birthday is today? Can you guess? So Frida Kahlo, born on this date in 1907, it is her 114th birthday. Known for many of her self-portraits. She did about 150 paintings, and about a third of them were self-portraits.
Yeah.
But she also painted other things as well. She's probably most notable for her tumultuous life and the violence and the accident that she had and some of the drama that happened, and also for her style, because when I think of Frida Kahlo, I think of her style, and that's what prompted tonight's episode of The
Agreed.
Large Glass.
So oftentimes when we're thinking of future episodes, we look at the birthday list at who's coming up down the road, and so sometimes there's very fitting people to throw in there. And with Frida Kahlo, when Terri said, I think for 45 we should do a show on Frida Kahlo, and I said, Frida Kahlo has been so done.
She's been examined through and through. I didn't feel like we could really add too much more to the conversation.
That's the thing. I want to bring new people into the conversation. So,
I agree.
Not that Alexander McQueen is necessarily new, but we did like the combination that this possibly presented. And we'll get into talking about that a little bit more in a little while. But why don't we keep rolling on the birthdays a little bit?
Okay.
So here we have...
This is Jamie Wyeth. He's one of the trio of Wyeths that are very famous from Brandywine, Chaddsford. He was born on this date in 1946. He's the son of Andrew Wyeth, the grandson of N.C. Wyeth, known for his photorealistic sort of paintings. If you've ever been out to Brandywine to see the museum, it's fantastic.
We're going to go. We're going to shoot a video out there. It's just we're working on making that relationship happen so that we can go out there and do that.
Yeah, but it's his birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday. More on that later.
Yes.
And who is this guy?
This is Marc Chagall. He was born on the 7th of July in 1887. He was an early modernist, painting, drawing, ceramics, glassworks. He did a number of different mediums. So his birthday is tomorrow.
Carolyn says, we were just in Maine. His family island is not far from ours. Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, maybe that's another road trip then. We got to keep rolling.
We got to keep rolling.
All right. So this, Artemisia Gentileschi.
So
is it Gentileschi or Gentileschi?
You know what? I have no idea. So how you pronounce it is close to how I would have pronounced it. She was born on the 8th of July in 1593. Italian Baroque painter, known for painting in the style of Caravaggio. She had a lot of chiaroscuro going on. I thought her life was very fascinating. She started off painting as a 15-year-old young woman, and she rose to prominence, but not quite because she was a woman, but she had the same skill set and was playing with some of the bigger painters.
Clearly, and this painting does make me really uncomfortable.
She was the first female to become a member of the Accademia di Arte del Disegno in Florence, and I probably butchered that.
That was pretty okay.
Yeah. Myths, allegories, suicides, warriors, those were some of her themes.
Murder. All right, moving on.
So moving on.
We have Kathy Kollwitz.
Yes, she was born on the 8th of July in 1867, German artist known for painting, printmaking, sculpture. So happy birthday.
Hold on, I have a piece of hers up here.
Oh, yes, you do.
And, okay, let's keep going. And this is, I lost my list. Was Stanton McDonald Wright? I'm trying to get my list back here.
He was born on the 8th of July in 1890, a modern American artist. He painted in the abstract, but it was like a color-based mode of painting, very avant-garde. So happy birthday to him as well.
Next is one of my favorites.
We have so many artists tonight.
I am so in love with this man.
Yes, David Hockney. And he's going to be 84 this year.
Yeah, and he's still going, and I want that sweater, tie, glasses, hat.
July 9th, 1937, British painter, draftsman, printmaker, stage designer, photographer, big pop art contributor in the 1960s.
And, I love the way this guy, let's go back to him for a second. I love the way this guy in his 80s embraced a program like Sketch Pro or Sketch on the iPad. He's got an Apple Pencil, and he does these beautiful paintings on his iPad now, as well as his large $35 million paintings that he does in his studio. But he spans this beautiful section of technology and not technology, but I love the way he's open to that sort of thing. So, happy birthday, Hockney.
Happy 84th.
That is just awesome. Yes. All right, now for Camille. Yeah, Pissarro. So tell us about Camille Pissarro, please.
Okay, he was born on July 10th in 1830. Danish, French Impressionist, Neo-Impressionist, Post-Impressionist painter. His colleagues Gauguin, Cézanne were some of his famous.
Do we know when he died?
I don't. I could look it up real quick.
No. We don't have to. I was just curious what eras he lived through.
Well, he was born in 1830, so probably not beyond the turn of the century.
Probably not, but I don't remember.
I don't either.
All right. This is one of his paintings, which I'm sorry I missed. I was so busy looking at his face. This is a lesser-known painting and recently discovered Pissarro painting, actually, called Portrait of a Boy, and I actually really quite like this. I love the way the tonality in the face works in this, but I was really pleased to find this one outside the realm of what we're used to. Okay, this man, whenever I say his name, I feel like I should be
He was doing
gesturing.
this yesterday in the kitchen.
I was.
Yes.
I was.
Go ahead.
No, you do it.
No, you say it.
Giuseppe Arcimboldo.
There we go.
Arcimboldo.
Yes.
What a name. What a powerful, I love that name.
An Italian painter. Born on the 11th of July in 1527. Very imaginative. He would do portraits, but he would use
Fruits
and
vegetables.
vegetables and all kinds of. He'd use books.
And you know, when I look at a
leaves.
portrait of him like this and the seriousness
I know,
of this
and
man,
then
and
it's
then we
like,
kind of see
here.
what's going on, I love the sort of the
Very
flip on that
playful.
whole thing. Yeah,
Yes.
it is really playful.
Yes.
So,
his birthday's coming up too.
happy birthday, Giuseppe.
Happy birthday.
All right, moving on, we have Mr. James Abbott.
McNeill Whistler, yes, and he was born on the 11th of July in 1834. American artist known for his paintings. I have to say one of my most favorite experiences ever involved one of his pieces. And if you've ever been down to DC at the Freer and Sackler Gallery of Art, in the Freer Gallery, there's the Peacock Room, and he designed it for a patron. It's got these beautiful teal green panels and golds and enormous peacocks lining the walls. It's really beautiful. And the day before I took my nursing boards, they tell you not to study for a big exam before you go. And I went to that gallery and I sat in the Peacock Room for like 3 to 4 hours just taking it all in. I absolutely love his work.
And it probably recharged your brain.
It really did.
I love
it
that.
really did. You have to see it. It's a great experience. But that's his birthday is coming up on the 11th of July, 1834.
Excellent. I love that story.
Yeah.
All right, we've got another one.
We got another Wyeth.
Another
so
Wyeth.
this is the one who's sandwiched in between his son and his dad. This is Andrew Wyeth. He was born on July 12th in 1917. N.C. Wyeth was his dad. Jamie was his son. Yes, that's correct, right?
Yep.
Yes. I wrote Jamie's dad and I got all confused. I'm like, wait a minute. American realist, regionalist, Chadsford, Pennsylvania, Brandywine, known for Christina's World.
Absolutely. You can't not put that up there.
You can't not put that up. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Andrew.
All the Wyeths
Happy
are
birthday,
coming up.
Jamie.
Yep.
We're moving on.
Moving on.
And I love this guy. I love this guy.
So Richard Tuttle, he's going to be 80.
80.
80.
Oh my
He celebrates
God.
his 80th birthday on the 12th of July. He was born in 1941, American post-minimalist, known for painting, sculpture, installation. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Richard. A mom just got on and said, hi, we have power back. Mom, we still don't have power. We're actually running on the generator tonight.
the
So
generator.
I don't know if you probably can't hear it in the background, but it is screaming out there. We have one more birthday for a total of, I think, something like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 birthdays
14
tonight,
birthdays.
which is just crazy. But
And
anyway, this is Mr. Modigliani. Amedeo
Modigliani. This
Modigliani.
looks like such a modern
It
picture.
really
It looks
does.
like he could be alive today.
I know.
But he was born in 1884, July 12th. You know Modigliani's style, the elongated necks and the face is always oval and cocked to the side.
Did I
Sometimes
pull the wrong picture for him?
I don't know. I don't think so. Let me look for that.
How is it possible that there's a photograph of that man that looks that recent?
I
think
Modigliani.
I believe I've made a mistake here.
Let's look.
This was probably like
Not
John Smith.
necessarily. Oh no. Images. No, Todd, that's him.
I know, but
But that looks like he could be walking around today.
I know, but how?
He's got timeless classic style.
Probably. I mean, look at this picture. This is a man who was born in the 1800s.
1884.
It looks like David Byrne. A little bit.
A little bit.
All right, anyway.
Nope, that's him.
All right. And that concludes tonight's birthdays,
Happy
everybody.
birthday.
Happy birthday to all of you. That's incredible. Thank you, number 67, for bringing us all of those birthdays. That is also, kind of incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway.
Anyway.
Should we talk a little bit about support?
Yes, let's talk about
We
support.
always talk about support to all 8 of you that are out there, and we appreciate every single one of you that is here. But we would like to give away a Susan Stillman painting at 200 followers. Now, we're slowly getting there. I pick up a couple on my Sunday stream because you know what I found out? On my Sunday studio stream, people are watching from Great Britain, Scotland, Europe, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, to Ron Brian, who joined up and followed, if you're watching this, thanks for that follow on Sunday. It was really nice chatting with you. I'm sorry you can't watch tonight because it's, really late at night there. But at 200 followers, and we're creeping towards that, we're going to give away this Susan Stillman painting, which we are really excited about. You can definitely check out all of her work. She has a website called SusanStillmanFineArt.com. So go check out her work. She's a great painter, and give her a look. Now, if you can't contribute to us in some way, tell a friend. That contributes. Getting people to follow this channel is hugely helpful, and we really appreciate that. We are also on Patreon, which is something you can go to and kind of become a member of Patreon. We have content that we're usually putting up there for just Patreon members, so you can see us. We are also going to be having a special edition show in August only for our patrons, and we're working on that topic right now. However, there are other ways to support us, and talking to your friends about the show and getting them to watch is one of them. All right, I am going to get us. Let's move on to the actual subject tonight, shall we?
On.
All right.
Yes.
So you wanted to kind of talk about how we got here? Do you want to talk about how we?
Well, yeah, we had mentioned it a little bit. We do look at what's going on and what's coming up, and we did notice that Frida Kahlo's birthday was coming up, and ruminated on possibly doing a show on her.
Sure.
But
I was not.
No, and I think, what more could be said about Frida? We've examined her life, and there's movies, and there's tons of scholarly articles written about her, and they've written on anything from her love life, her sexuality, her politics.
But one brilliant thing you said to me that I thought sparked this whole thing was you said that, we almost know Frida Kahlo for her personality, her style, her presence, as much as we do, possibly more than we do, her actual paintings.
True.
So she, as a person, she kind of existed through this stylistic presence, right? And so we started thinking about how that sense of style, that sense of presence in the world, sort of molds and shapes you. And so we started thinking about notable fashion figures that have actually done this as well.
Well, the other thing with her was that she reminded me of an exhibit that I saw at the Philadelphia Museum of Art involving Roberto Capucci's works. And he was a fashion designer, an Italian fashion designer. And they had displayed the show so beautifully. The dresses that he created were sculptural. They positioned them in ways that people could interact with them as though they were sculpture. And you could see that in some ways they did defy gravity. The way that the materials were used and the fabrics, they were very delicate. They had a conservator on premises so that they could do some fixing as they put them up. But it was such a gorgeous, eye-opening exhibit. And when I think of Frida Kahlo, I was thinking in terms of that. And then you said...
Well, but we really struggled with whether or not to do Capucci or McQueen.
Yes.
We talked about doing both, which would have just been a crazy show.
I think that would have been crazy.
But this notion of the body, right, and so when we think about fashion, it's funny. Last week we mentioned we were going to do someone related to fashion, and 63, one of our followers, was like, "No, not fashion," which I get. But when we talk about somebody like Alexander McQueen and we think about fashion, I don't think about fashion. I think about sculpture.
I think about art.
And I think about the body.
I think about performance. I think about all those things.
Yeah, there's so much bundled up in that. And to be totally honest, when it comes to the world of performance and even my own sculpture, I think a lot about the body and the body's relationship to its surroundings, the body's relationship to itself. You know, it's funny. There's an old joke that says, well, what's a sculpture? Sculpture's that thing you back into when you're looking at a painting. But there's a weird kind of unrecognized relationship there, is that, yeah, it's a physical thing in the room. And you could, interact with it that way. It's not the thing you back into when you're looking at painting, but it's a kind of a funny tongue-in-cheek reveal on the fact that it's physical, like you are, right? So when it comes to McQueen, I don't think about commercial fashion.
Oh, I don't at
He's
all.
so not a Marc Jacobs,
No.
right?
No.
At all.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to do a show on Marc Jacobs.
Well,
I'm going to put that out there.
I never said.
I'm making her uncomfortable
we
right now.
wanted to. I don't want to trash talk another designer. That's basically what I'm trying to get.
I'm not saying anything against Marc Jacobs.
He
I think
didn't
Marc.
even cross my mind. I don't know. I wanted to do somebody, and Todd saw an exhibit back in 2011.
I saw that exhibit at the Met.
Savage Beauty.
Oh,
Alexander McQueen posthumous exhibit in which many of his fashions were displayed in the context of sculpture and performance pieces and just this beautiful flowing quality in which the materials interacted with the environment, with other people, and I'm talking all kinds of materials. He didn't shy away from anything. He used metal, he used shells, he used wood, he used all kinds of different things from nature, and it really created this beautiful.
well, the funny thing is that,
Vision.
when we do somebody like Nick Cave, when we did Nick Cave's work,
Yes.
we didn't talk about Nick Cave in terms of fashion,
We
but what
didn't.
were most of the things that he was working on? He was doing garment-based, performative costumes, right? And so why don't we put those two in the same realm, right?
Yes.
We talk about Nick Cave in terms of performance and sculpture.
Yeah,
I think Alexander McQueen belongs in that
I agree.
place.
Yes.
So let's start to kind of look at some of these
Some of
works and
his
just kind of talk
pieces.
about where we're going to focus our energy tonight, because I think that's important. Do you want to talk about him?
I'll talk about him a little bit. So Alexander McQueen, he was born March 17th, 1969. He only lived to about 40 years old. He died in 2010, shortly after the death of his mother.
Which we'll
which
talk
we'll talk
about.
about in a
Yeah,
little
that's it.
bit.
That's it for the end.
English fashion designer. He had founded his own label in 1992, chief designer for Givenchy.
Givenchy.
Givenchy. She? 1996 through 2001. He also formed a partnership with Gucci. Many awards. He was like the British Designer of the Year through 96, 97, 2001, 2003. He was born in London. His father was a taxi driver. His mother was a social science teacher. He was the youngest of 6 children. His mother encouraged his creativity. He would draw pictures of women's dresses on the back of the wallpaper.
He remembers his first drawing of a dress was at 3 years old. So he's been at this. He was at this from a very, very young age. And I'm sorry, I'm pausing and stuttering over my words because there was just the most impressive roll of thunder outside the house that just made me think, are we going to lose power?
But we can't.
But we can't. Plus, someone steals the generator. By the way, if we all of a sudden go offline, someone stole our generator.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, his mom, fostered his creativity, and at the very young age of 6, I believe, he started designing dresses for his sisters. He had 3 sisters. And he would cut fabric on the human body. That's something that he was known for throughout his life. Like he would tailor it to the
Right
human
on the body.
Right
Yeah.
on the body.
Which is brilliant. When it comes to sculpture, when it comes to materials, one of the most interesting things to me about sculpture is, because I cross both of those those realms. I work both in, I have an undergraduate in painting and a graduate degree in sculpture, and so I've worked extensively in both of those areas. And the thing, I once had an old professor of mine, I shouldn't say old as in he is old as in from a long time ago. I asked, we were talking about the differences between painting and sculpture, and he had said to me brilliantly, the painting, everything's presented to you in painting as a painter, right? You got a surface, you've got some paints, and then basically from there it's all here in your head about composition, visual, trickery, whatever the case may be, relationships, et cetera, but it's all presented to you. In sculpture, every day is a new day of learning about materials and their resistances and their limitations and their possibilities and how they form, right? So you might have an idea for how you want something to be, but that material that you have in your hands might not want to be that way. And it's not just a matter of mixing one color with another and the right amount of glazing in this relationship to that and push and pull. It's really about this physical struggle. So material, whether it's fabric or whether it's metal or whether it's resin or whether it's whatever the things that McQueen used, there's to have a brilliance around being able to just go right at that. There's something really, to me, special there. There's an innate understanding of a physical element, and that then, of course, goes back to the body, right? I mean, understanding the physical world is like. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm doing my thing. So let's keep going.
It when you do your thing.
I know. But let's keep going.
He did drop out of school at 16 years old.
Good for him.
And he went on to start his fashion career. He first started off as an apprentice at the Seville. I've heard it said so many times, and my pronunciation is so bad. But the Seville Road Tailors, and he.
Do you know what?
What?
I love that you do that, and it doesn't bother me a bit.
Okay.
All right, so just don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Just roll with it.
Take back, Evenchi. Sorry. I'll work on it.
Oh man. Okay.
But anyway.
Sorry, Carolyn.
I know. She's probably like, it's like nails on a chalkboard. But anyway. So he dropped out early. He started working for these fashion designers, doing some grunt work, cutting patterns, learning the tricks of the trade, and then he slowly began to rise to prominence.
Yeah. And honestly, after having all of that time working in the industry, right, which, we just mentioned Peter Pops before, who passed away, the shoe designer. Same thing, self-taught. And he worked in the shoe industry for most of his life until in 2003 he decided to open his own design studio and begin making them. Because, we put so much emphasis, and I do as well as a teacher, on technique, which I believe to be very important. But I also believe that a physical understanding of what it is you're about to engage in requires an immersion, and it requires a lot of experience, right? And so if you can learn the craft after you've had that immersion, well, now you have the tools, right, to begin to move into that space. So, I love this notion of the self-taught, the self-driven. There's, and then this recognition that comes on the heels of that, which is a beautiful thing.
I will say that he did go on to continue his education and graduated in 1992. It was then that he was discovered by Isabella Blow, who kind of paved the way for him.
She was a
supported
big influence
him.
and support.
Yeah, she bought out his first collection. She kind of put him on the map. So
right,
yeah.
and I've had one image up all this time, and I haven't been cycling through images because we wanted to draw the line between Frida and McQueen and the focus we were going to put on McQueen.
Yes.
Right, and so I grabbed some images of some of Frida's garments, particularly the prosthetic ones.
Yes.
Okay, so can we look at those real
absolutely
quick?
can.
So we've got a few of Frida's prosthetic garments that she wore after her accident. She had the accident, right, in the streetcar.
She was a teenager when she had the accident
Yeah.
in the streetcar, and it left her quite disabled. She wore corsets for the rest of her life and had multiple surgeries in order to correct her spine. But she didn't really. She used fashion in conjunction with her disease. Like, she designed clothing around the corsets. She sometimes did things to hide some of them as well, but at some point she really embraced that disability and what came along with it. Her plaster corset, she would do paintings on. She has a really fantastic prosthetic leg.
Oh, you mean this one?
This one with the shoe that she designs.
Now,
it's really beautiful.
And so here's where and I Hate Username 67 is here. We thanked you earlier. I hope you didn't lose power for giving us all those birthdays. And you're asking me which professor said the painting versus sculpture thing. Rather than call that person out on the air, I will just say this. First year grad advisor, male. Done. Okay, now, the reasons we drew the connections between Frida and McQueen stem from this idea of these prosthetic apparati that Frida wore, and then we start looking into some of the various prosthetics that McQueen utilized in his fashion. Now, of course, there's this interesting sort of, there's, if we look, I think I have, hold on. Let's just take a look at this one, for example. So if we think about Frida Kahlo's prosthetic support, this corset, right, that basically gives her structure. It functions like an armature for someone who was, in a lot of ways, broken, like her physical ability to stand up was so challenged. And then we look at McQueen's ringed, this is from his fall and winter collection in 1999, and each one of these rings was electroformed pure aluminum rod. Each layer had to be individually installed on this model, but it functions very much like a corset.
This is from the, I'm sorry to interrupt, the autumn-winter 99 collection called The Overlook, which was titled after the Stanley Kubrick's film from The Shining. So, but anyway.
Well, wow, from the Overlook Hotel.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, he had the whole show based on that movie and actually the scene going on.
Right, so. And I'm not trying to suggest that McQueen was inspired by Frida. What I'm suggesting is that when we pay attention to this idea of a prosthetic, right, or a garment in this case, there's this really interesting kind of, there's both this kind of restrictive quality and then there's this enabling quality. So I see a lot of restrictive qualities in this, right, which McQueen sort of makes a commentary, whether he knows it or not, and I'm sure he does, on this kind of rigidity, this kind of restriction. I know that he was very critical of the fashion world and how the models were treated, how the fashion world functioned, and I know that a lot of his work criticized that.
It did, but on the other hand, he also had some very controversial shows in which he was criticized and called a misogynist, like his Highland Rape show, in which it was more of an essay on Scotland and where he was from. But when the models came out, they came out in tattered lace and clothing that suggested violence and different things like that. So he's also been criticized the other way. Now, the models that wear his clothing, they say how empowering it is to be fashioned in McQueen.
Absolutely, but and I would say, without necessarily knowing the quotes of people that said it was empowering, that it's empowering from the standpoint of, number one, fashion tries to do this thing that I think is very difficult to do, but I think fashion does it very well, and it bridges this gap between what I think is the personal and the universal, right? Because that's there's a big gap, a big distance between those two things, right? And so in terms of the universality of what fashion does, McQueen does a really, really good job of critiquing that, right? And so, and also through this sort of this personal exuberance, this kind of outpouring of this kind of, personal space, that's a really beautiful combination that he creates. I would imagine that putting on something made by him would have that effect. I accidentally scrolled to this image, but now I'm going to stay here. But I'm going to go back and forth because 67 says, this McQueen Kahlo comparison should be a show. And I kind of feel like that is where I'm coming from.
Kind
in
of,
this,
yeah.
right?
We see a lot of similarities, and we're going to point a couple out, especially when there's one show in particular, number 13, in which you're going to see some similarities. Now, of course, Kahlo did not know McQueen, but McQueen must have known Kahlo. I'm wondering somewhere if it influenced his work, but we're not quite sure.
Right, and John Park says the steel dress seems to me to come directly from the African neck rings influence. Yeah, absolutely. And so, it's like he took the neck rings and then literally made it go all the way down to the waist. The neck rings he's referring to are, there's the tribal tradition of stretching the neck.
Yep. It's a sign of beauty.
Yeah, and this definitely comes from that. And that is an interesting connection to this notion of the prosthetic, right? Because there's another connection that we make in this to an artist named Rebecca Horn. Now, Rebecca Horn utilized this notion of the extension of the body in her sculptural work, and Rebecca Horn was an influence on McQueen.
Yes.
And so if we think about that notion of prosthetic, the extension of the body, right, then John's comment about the African neck rings, is doing just that, right? It's literally extending the body in a very physical way rather than an artificial way. It's stretching the neck out. But Rebecca Horn, just to jump back to that for a second, there's some interesting connections there. So to get to her, I've got a little thing I want to look at here. So first, just consider this image for a second. This is Frida Kahlo in her bed after her injury, painting with this apparatus that was made for her so that she could paint while in this kind of, is that traction that she's in?
It is some kind of traction. You can see the way that her head is pulled upward, so there's a tension in order to straighten her spine. This was an easel design so that she can lay on her back because she had to hold that position. It was part of her therapy. So this device is created.
And I love that as an apparatus for this enabling, right? And that this is not necessarily what we'd call a prosthetic, but it kind of has its roots there. And this kind of goes to this whole sort of personality around Frida Kahlo's existence, right? And then I think about, then I cannot help but see this image from Rebecca Horn with this pencil mask that she had made for this performance piece where she dons this very sort of bondage-esque kind of leather mask that's got these pencils all over it. And then she begins drawing on a surface with her face, which is the polar opposite of what Kahlo's doing. It's this kind of restriction. It's related, but it's the opposite.
Exactly.
Right? And then I look at, and then of course we saw this, and then I think about this McQueen piece, right? Which has another kind of implication as prosthetic. Again, it's containment, it's limitation. It's not necessarily about drawing, but it involves the head and the face and this space around that. And so they all kind of have this, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying this has never been thought of before, but I couldn't help but notice the connections between these these three pieces. So, when we're talking about either A, prosthetic as restriction, which is in the case of Rebecca Horn, or prosthetic as enabling, right, which is in the case of Frida Kahlo, or prosthetic as just this kind of in some ways, it's critical of the industry. It's a play on this kind of personal empowerment, but at the same time containment. There's all these different ways in which that plays.
Definitely.
So, I'm sorry, I'm totally overriding you and taking over this show.
That's fine. What I would like to do, I do want to stay on that prosthetic train of thought, but I also wanted to show him in action.
Yeah.
And the pieces in action so that you can kind of see that it was many different modalities working as one. So
do you want to show that video?
Can we show a little bit?
So we'll show one. We got a couple videos for you tonight. We're going to show this one first. So let me pull that up. Take a look at this. I've got this muted. There is music that goes with this, but if I play that music, we're going to get DMCA'd. So we're going to play this in silence, but imagine some really beautifully timed, energetic music with this little montage. Here we go. I mean, this, to me, is not, I mean, to me, this is about sculpture. It's beautiful. In the way in which the body becomes a vessel for this outward extension, right? And, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's the thing about McQueen. I don't believe he's just fashion. I don't believe he's just sculpture either. I believe he's many different things.
Absolutely. Ripple Flux is saying the dress getting painted live must have been a great show. Actually,
Yes.
Dalton, we're going to show that in a little while
because
because
just a little bit.
that was sort of at the tail end of one of his most iconic runway shows, and it just took the entire fashion world and kind of dropped their jaws on some levels. So it's really, really quite incredible. But anyway, what do you want to, talk about?
Well, we can talk a little bit more about the prosthetic, but I would like to jump right into that one show that was kind of where we were really seeing a lot of similarities with some of Kahlo's work, even though it's not necessarily he took it from Kahlo. The show that we're referring to is 1999.
1999.
It was number 13. That was the title because it was his 13th fashion show. And a lot of the pieces were a lot of performance. He went out on a limb a little bit. As you can see, he's got the corsets going on again. This is Shalom Harlow. She was kind of the star of that show. A lot of lace. He liked to juxtapose different materials like leather and lace. And the craftsmanship was absolutely beautiful. Some of the pieces were a little bit more performance oriented. So, and that's the other thing. Like, he had clothing that appealed to the everyday kind of person that you could certainly wear, but then he had these more artistic pieces in the show.
Yeah, and you know what I love about this, and I'll be honest, I worked I taught at a university that had the #1 fashion program in the United States, #2 fashion program in the world, and I dealt with numerous fashion students that were young first years. I did not teach in the fashion program, obviously, but I learned so much from just really preparing for this show, right? So number one, McQueen's show, this number 13 show, had a really beautiful kind of sense of evolution of the process to it, which I really found fascinating. So you could almost see in the more unique artistic pieces that might have a sculptural sense to them, as you would see that, there would then be this rolled off relationship to something that was a little bit more wearable. So for example, the piece that's up here on the screen right now, there would then later be a piece that you could see had the tonality and stitching of that body prosthetic piece there, but it might have a much better sense of movement, something that felt more wearable, which I found to be really kind of a nice sense of the progression of the thought. Amanda Toolin's here.
Hi.
Well, like, wow, I can't believe I'm late to this. I can't believe you didn't know about this, Amanda. John Park, is there Matthew Barney in there, or is there some McQueen in Barney? And I am so glad you mentioned that, John, and yes, there's no doubt, and here's why. Can I jump on this for a second? Can I jump on that?
Yeah.
Am I?
No, go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You sure? Okay. So, McQueen made work and had a close relationship with Bjork. Bjork was married to Matthew Barney.
Yes.
So no doubt there's this connectivity there, especially when you start looking at Barney's Cremaster Cycle series of videos. So and the prosthetic nature of a lot of the costume design in that, there were all these connections. And honestly, I actually wanted to have some of those images from Barney on here so that you could see them, but with all the power outages, I was unable to collect everything I wanted. So it's no excuse, but it's my excuse. But that's a fantastic point, John. I really appreciate you saying that. So there's definitely a connection there. It says, yes, those videos of Barney's were what I was thinking of when I made the comment. And And even in this idea that there is this, when we just watched that video montage a second ago of McQueen's work, there were a number of references to one of his shows from 1997 called La Poupée, which is translated means the doll. And he borrows a lot of his conceptual thinking from Hans Bellmer, who did a lot of photography, surrealist photography around these dolls that he created that were really critiques on like this ultimate body image that, you know, he found to be unsettling. Anyway, the long and the short of it is there are images in that video montage from La Poupée that have the lighting and some of the sensibility of Barney's Cremaster cycle in them, for sure. Carolyn's like, La Poupée. I don't know if you're telling me. Oh, wait a minute. David Backus is here. My wife is watching this show with me and loving it since she saw the show at the Met. Yes, I saw that show too. I love that show. David, you were our featured supporter tonight. I don't know if you got here in time for that, but we just wanted to say thank you to you for all the support you've given us. We really appreciate that. And now I'm going to let Terri talk for a few minutes because I haven't been able to shut my mouth for 10 minutes.
No, I think it's great. Can we pull up some more images?
Yeah, you want to look at some of these? Now, I loved when these came out.
So it's, when you're looking at this and you're just seeing a flat two-dimensional representation, it really doesn't do it justice, because when this, for example, was out on the stage, she's actually on this revolving platform that would spin around, and the materials would really catch the light and throw it around, and it really looked like there was something almost technological going on. Like, yeah. Especially when the one woman that we saw earlier with the scaffolding over her head, and it had a very sparkly...
Yes. There was a change in the light quality.
There was a change in the light that it seemed like she had an aura that was interactive around her.
Right. I'm trying to pull her up right now.
And it was the use of the materials that he used. And sometimes to really appreciate what McQueen did, you had to be there in person or to watch it
to watch
action.
The video. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. There were several sort of acts in this runway show that took place, and in between those acts there were significant shifts in the lighting, and that lighting always sort of seemed to pertain to that next grouping that was coming out. And so I actually really liked that as a signifier for how the show's evolution was taking place.
Yes.
We have a couple of more of these here. So should I click? You want to go to this one? You want to talk this one a little bit?
So this one's a big thing.
This is a really significant part of this show.
This is a significant part of the show.
And you're going to kind of, your head, if you don't know about this already, your head's about to come off.
Okay, so we see a model here, but she's actually not a model. She is an Paralympic
gold medalist.
Gold medalist. She's a double amputee, Amy Mullins, and she was recruited by McQueen for the show. She's got the corset going on with the asymmetrical lace or bondage going on here, this gorgeous lace skirt, but her boots are wooden. They are prosthetics.
She does not have either leg, and McQueen fashioned for her these prosthetic legs that are in fact boots.
Yes, they're intricately hand-carved ash wood.
And she comes out on the stage wearing this, and it's, you know, she's definitely not the run-of-the-mill model that, and models are, you know, of varying levels of fame, but the Amy Mullins was in the last Cremaster. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Okay, so there's a real full circle connection. So these three were all together, right? And by the third one, I mean, well, I should say four, because we've got Amy Mullins, we've got Matthew Barney, we've got Alexander McQueen, and of course we have Bjork. But you know, I love this piece as a whole because number one, she's got this bodice, this top part that is clearly rigid. It's got this
very sculptural though. There are breasts sculpted in this. It's almost like classic Roman or Greek.
I was going to say a
As
warrior.
I'm pointing at all this stuff.
At this stuff.
I'm like, but that's exactly what it's like. It's got those mythological proportions. to
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
And it's absolutely stunning.
And she is definitely a warrior on top. Down below, which, you know, and I don't have cremaster imagery up here, but down below she has this kind of frill work that almost is like, this is such a strange connection I'm going to make, and so few of the viewers are going to get this. John and Glenn will get this. But in the Cremaster series, there are a number of goat-like creature characters that are in this, and they have these prosthetic legs that when you look at the rear legs of almost any farm animal, they kind of have that backwards knee joint, right? And so these legs have that backward knee joint in them. But above that joint, above that prosthesis, is this very sort of frilly, furry, flocked kind of almost like a petticoat, right? And that sort of makes the connection between the leg apparatus and the body. It's very strange. But I can't help but think of that in this piece where McQueen is sort of connecting this prosthetic leg to this other warrior-like form. I can't help but feel like those two things are related.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, a lot of people would probably disagree with me, but I think that's close.
Not necessarily.
So
Amanda Tulin says she has a great TED Talk she's talking about.
with 12 pairs of her legs, I
Yep.
think he casted
Her
her
body
body
for
for
that.
that. Oh my God.
It's
Wow.
absolutely beautiful. I love how he pieced it together, truly.
This is great. See, this is why I love the chat. You guys are so good at putting all of this together. I mean, we spend hours working on these shows, and then bringing the collective thought process in here makes this so much better. So much better.
Now, he did, just as an aside, he made it a point to include a lot of non-models when he could. So he looked for people who were diverse and came from all kinds of backgrounds. And so he was very open-minded to all of that.
And Jess Park says, almost like a faun if you want to bring in the mythology. Yeah, that's actually the perfect thing you could represent there. And John says, Barney protects those videos to his detriment, in my honest opinion. They should be more widely seen. You can't, I know, if you go online and you look for Cremaster Cycle, you get a few images, but you don't really get much at all. Certainly no video. And I think to buy them, even if you can buy them, they're insanely expensive. But I could be wrong about that now. They might have changed. Do we want to look at any of? I mean, we're actually coming up on 9. We still have a lot to do. Do we want
a couple more pieces. I'd like to look at a couple more pieces that were in number 13, just to kind of get an idea of what like a show, one show's collection, which it sounds like a lot of people are very familiar with his work.
Right. Well,
that wasn't one of the pieces.
That wasn't one of the pieces. Do you want to look at the wings?
That one was in the show.
It was in the show.
It was, but that wasn't one of the ones. I thought how he divided that show up was really interesting, because it's almost like he did have fashion for the everyday person with a couple of little nuances here and there. And then he would have these more avant-garde
sculptural
pieces, and then he would, like you said, tone it down a little bit. Like when the one I was thinking of was the angel wings, which you had shown before.
Yeah, we've got that, but
that
then
were carved wood.
Yeah.
Sheaths of wood, and he did come up with another version. If you'll remember, it almost had like that burlap fabric, and it still kind of held the shape. I don't think we have a shot of that.
Yes, we don't have that image. Yep.
But this is just gorgeous, and it had like those, each little piece of wood has some hand carving in it.
I'm going
and
looking.
And then you think of how
talking.
the light goes through it, and it projects onto other things. He had also designed some skirts, and he placed some women on that revolving pedestal again, like a ballet. The skirts defied gravity, came out, had the same shape of the wood, but also had that carving and design in it, so that when the lights were low, you could see the light shine through the wood and onto the legs and the floor, and it did
Projected.
something with the eyes.
Yeah.
It almost made it sparkle, just like metal.
Right.
Just like metal catching light.
Right. Yeah, it projected almost right through it, right? you had mentioned the burlap piece that had the wood support. I did find a piece of his from the same show that utilizes the same burlap material with the embroidery on it.
God, that's gorgeous. I would love that dress.
Yeah, well, that dress would probably set you back about $3,000.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of the non-traditional use of materials in this high fashion. To me, that drags it so much more over to sculpture. I mean, burlap, I use burlap as a support in casting plaster, right? I mean, it's like a really, really cheap, rudimentary base level armature material, as is metal, as is wood, as is, these other things he's using. But that's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
And one of the things I think that's really is a testament to his sculptural talent is when a sculptor can take a material, use the material as the material, and make it not the material, right? It defies the material's nature. And I think I've gone on this rant before about material nature.
I think he's a great example.
Oh my God, yeah, because this is burlap, for crying out loud, and it really goes beyond burlap. It's got a kind of air of elegance. It's like linen. It's like
I love how he lets it do what it's gonna do too. Like he lets
fray.
the fray.
The fray.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's just so gorgeous.
Yep. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff going on with his work, and I feel like to just label him fashion and not consider all these other connections that we can make to sculpture, to performance, is making a bit of a mistake. Do we want to show the end of
finale?
the finale?
Yes. There was
All right.
Go ahead, Todd.
No, you first.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the finale of 13 has some pretty interesting stuff, and you get to see him momentarily, which I actually really like. I love this guy's personality. By the way, this guy made clothes for some of the most iconic people on Earth, and I have to
Lady
say,
Gaga, David Bowie,
Bjork,
Sarah Jessica Parker,
and
so many people.
Carolyn, if Alex is watching the show, cover her ears right now. I'm going into a $50 swear word moment right now. Okay, so make sure we bleep this one out. But he made a suit for Prince Charles. And he embroidered inside the sleeve of it, very discreetly, "I am a cunt."
Now that has not been substantiated.
Oh, come on!
That's the rumor, and that's how he got his nickname.
Now, that being said, he loves the Queen of England,
Yes.
right? So, I just think that...
That's a fantastic myth.
I would
Maybe I should have just let that live. But
I would like to just believe that happened because, first of all, why not?
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, he's affected the lives of a lot of people, and I'm not necessarily saying that I believe that Prince Charles is that, but to sort of play on that critique to Ben's like, what? I'm not repeating it, Ben. Watch tomorrow, repeat, back it up. Yeah, that's I love that. All right, let's look at the finale of 13. Let's take a look at that video.
Yes.
I'll stop talking now. Let's have a look. I am gonna undo the sound for this so you guys can see it. Why is this coming up so poorly?
You can actually go up here and pull it up if you want to.
Pull up what? What? I have it.
Oh, you have it?
This is it.
Cute.
It's just the problem is the aspect ratio of this. This was done in the 90s, right? So 16:9 high def was not exactly the norm. So we're gonna have to struggle with a little bit of aspect ratio here. Let's just close this down and let's turn on some sound. We're gonna get spanked for this, but let's do it.
I will say the majority of the soundtrack from 13 was also Beastie Boys. That's what he played for that one.
Another reason we're gonna get spanked, but here we go. Check this out. Now I've got it forwarded way, down the line, so you can always look up Alexander McQueen 99 or Alexander McQueen 13 and find the whole video. It's about 22 minutes long, but here we go. We're towards the end. love how at the end of this, those robots actually almost seem to be taking a bow. And they're so menacing. They're the industry, right? She's like afraid of them. She's like, oh, don't.
Yeah.
And they're almost like guns. They lunge in. Yeah, and they soil the beautiful dress. They soil the beauty.
They create this
work
of art.
They do create this work of art, but then you really are left wondering. It's like, you know. And then here comes the finale. Everyone's walking out.
Pieces. And you can even see all the different types from you can wear them out to your office or to the museum.
Well, I think one of the things I love about this is in the order they originally came out is this sense of process, this sense of, you know, what is the sort of fantastical, right? And and here he comes. And what I love about him is he's got his dogs. He's a humble, simple, he's not some gigantic, obnoxious personality. He's like, I've got a pair of jeans on. I've got 2 dogs with me. I love my dogs. He takes this real humbled bow right now. He's just kind of like, oh, thank you. And
oh, stop.
he's like, I know, come on. But it's such a beautiful personality,
he really
this
is.
guy.
Very soft-spoken person. Yeah.
So, okay, so that's that. Let's get off of that. Let's go back to here. So, okay, so what did we want to say about that afterwards? Did I miss something?
I don't believe so. So
hold on, we got some comments here. He has extensive tailoring training on Savile Row. Yep, we mentioned that before a little bit, and that he had kind of really honed his talent, his skill there before sort of going on to. So at the end of his, towards the end of his life, you know, first of all, his mother was a key influence in his life. She helped to foster his fashion sense. She helped to foster his career. She was pivotal in his life. And
his siblings will even say he was the baby of the family. He was the youngest of 6. So Alexander had a very special bond with his mom, Joyce. She was diagnosed with cancer and would later die from it in 2010. And I think Alexander had a hard time being without her, and 4 days later he took his own life.
Well, he had actually sent a bunch of tweets out during the time between his mother passing and his own death, where it was really obvious through the language that he was really struggling with this. There's one other image in here of him when
yes.
You want to talk about this one?
Well, this is when his
influence, his support, his key
muse,
supporter,
Isabella Blow, had passed away. She had also taken her own life.
Yeah.
And he had gone to her funeral, and that was also a turning point towards the sadness that he felt. But
yeah, so 9 days after his mother's passing, on the eve of her funeral, he took his own life. He really could not handle the loss of his mother, and it was just a devastating blow. His funeral was, attended by so many people that were just completely destroyed by his death, and it's a tragedy that he's gone. It'd be interesting to know what he'd be doing now.
I do want to say, and going back to tying this up with,
wow, that
big
was some
shock of
serious thunder just
here.
went.
But we're not going to lose power, so yay. There's a lot of similarities between Kahlo and McQueen, and that was one of the reasons why we chose him. I do want to say even some of his motifs, like he embraced Victorian, some of the macabre skulls, some of those same themes that Frida Kahlo also embraced, from her Mexican heritage and Dia de los Muertos.
Yep, Day of the Dead.
There's some crossover there as well.
And McQueen is credited with bringing the skull into fashion in art in the fashion world, right? He kind of brought that back. So there's definitely a connection in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we made this connection between Kahlo's birthday.
It's that train of thought.
Well, it kind of
We love
is,
hopping on
right?
that train of
And
thought.
this was in a lot of ways this was kind of organically born, the subject matter for this show, because even as early as today, I had texted 67 and I was like, okay, prosthetics in the art world, who do you think of? And I had actually already had Rebecca Horn in the list, but he's like, Rebecca Horn and this person and this person. And I started going down this rabbit hole before the power went out. But I love the organic way in which these conversations build to make this show. And then everything that everybody was saying, from John Park's comments to Matthew Barney, I mean, it all is just like really, spot on.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really a tragedy losing this guy. And I know it happened quite a long time ago. It's not like this is news, right? But,
Yeah. Good book out, Savage Beauty, museum collection. You can still buy it on Amazon.com.
Yep.
I know you bought it at the museum, but what a fantastic
gorgeous hologram on the cover
portfolio.
of his face with this skull face. I have a first edition copy. We were going to give one away on the show tonight, but that just with the power outage did not come to pass. So we'll roll that giveaway over into something that's going to happen down the road.
Yes.
Down the road, because we know that if we did a giveaway with 10 people on the show, either Carolyn or my mom would win it. So, and not that we don't love it when you win things,
Yeah,
right?
we love it, but
All right, so we should probably really enjoyed this very different take of the show. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. We should probably wrap up, right?
yeah.
So anyway, we've got some cool stuff coming up. We're inching towards show number 50. And so we have an idea for what we want to do for 50, but I really feel like we'd love to hear from all of you. So maybe during next week's show, we'll ask again in the chat, come up with some ideas. Carolyn Thau said that she thinks a drinking festival would be a good one. I personally like this. Ripple Flux just subscribed. Thank you for that,
Thank
Dalton.
you.
That's awesome. We really appreciate that. 63 is here.
Oh, thank you.
63 is here. Ripple Flux, thank you. I appreciate that. Jess Park says, loved this connection. Both amazing talents gone too soon. Yeah, completely. It's really, it is what it is. But
Yes, but they left a fantastic legacy for us to enjoy.
yeah, but who knows what they would have gone on to do, Anyway, I'm sorry. I could just talk. I'm feeling down.
I'm trying to
The
bring
show
you
brought
up.
me down.
Think of all that they've given in that short time that we're so lucky to keep looking at and to love and to embrace and all of that good stuff. So thank God they lived.
I love your headpiece.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. On that, it is time for us to depart. I'm going to go out in the lightning and bring the generator in.
No, you're not. You're going to leave it there.
We hope to see you all next Tuesday night for another fine show. Jess Park says, thank you, Terri. Or they've done so much in their time.
Yes,
yeah, that's the thing, right?
exactly.
Some of us have stretched out time and we don't feel like we can get nearly that much done in that stretched out period of time as they did in that compressed period of time. All right, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for another show of The Large Glass. Take care of yourselves. Don't get stuck in this crazy storm. Hopefully you're dry. We will see you all next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Where's the button? I always lose the button. Hold on. There it is.